Okay, so I'm going to give you a little brief uh, re- recon of this area, Mount San Jac near Idlewild, and basically I want to show you a couple of uh, things to look out for based on SanJacJon's trip report. We'll go here. This is your far out map. There's uh, Mount there's Mount San Jacinto, Mount San Jac. There's Idlewild over here. And then these are all the alternate trails from Idlewild going up towards San Jac. And then I wanted to show you also Postholer. Down at the bottom right, it says Pacific Crest Trail elevation. See how that moves with my cursor? So I just wanted to show you that, but I am going to eliminate that. I use that a lot for like trying to figure out what my plan is for tomorrow and whether I start cold and then warm up because I'm going to be on an incline in the morning. So there's a Pyramid Peak, there's a PVC Paradise Valley Cafe, and one of the things I like about Postholer is it gives me actual miles. So whenever I'm talking to a hiker, I always go to the Postholer first and make sure I'm on the same mileage. For instance, San Jac Jon's mileage does not correlate with a PCT or with this map, with a Postholer map. The Postholer map and the PCT map tends to be accurate, but the mileage that San Jac Jon gives you is a little bit off. And I'm on an Android phone. You'll see that those of you on Apple, your miles don't correlate either. So just keep an eye on what you're doing on Far Out. If you're on Android and Far Out and Apple on Far Out, sometimes the miles are not exact. Just be careful. Because I'm on Android, I have some challenges with talking with hikers in the that are using iPhones. So let's backdrop here. This is the PCT where it's Highway 74. There's Paradise Valley Cafe at the corner. Where is it? I'm just going to show you. I kind of like this because it tells me like who owns it, Forest Paradise, so that's why it's called the Paradise Valley Cafe, right? And then there's this little road here, this little track here, that's a straight shoot. So if you don't want to road walk on Highway 174, you can take that little trail from the PCT and then back to the PCT, as you can see right there. And it looks like it's got power lines at one time. I can't remember when I saw it, but I think it might follow power lines. So there's the PCT again. There's the Pine to Palms Highway that takes you to Paradise Valley Cafe. And then here's the PCT going up. Even in 2023, no one needed their equipment. They actually, I think in 23 they had spikes, but they did not need an ice axe to get to Spittler, and so most of them exited Spittler. That is not Spittler, but it is an alternate, but it takes you back down to PVC, so it's kind of, unless you're just trying to bail. And then here's there's another name for this trail as well. It is not Spittler. And I think that's Phobes, but I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, I think that's Phobes. And that takes you back down to PVC anyway, so. But it is an exit. So stay on the PCT. PCT is going to be red and red dotted on my map. That's what I chose to color it in. This is a OnX Backcountry that I use. And then because I dotted mine, I can do, forget it. I'm not gonna. I get distracted easy. Sorry. So continue following it up the trail. Obviously the satellite photos were done. There's a Phobes saddle, so that's Phobes trail here. Sorry. So we'll keep going. And then here is Spittler. So the 2023, with even with all the snow, they were able to make it to Spittler and then go down Spittler to Idlewild, which is an option for you guys, or you can hitch from from PVC to Idlewild. I get excited and talk fast. Sorry if that's not to your. So on the San Jac Jon trip report, it says very little snow from mile 151 to 175, but there is a little bit of tricky patches between 170 and 173. So again, I can go here, but I already know that it's not correlating his miles and SanJacJon's miles and Postholer miles and Far Out miles. But I would assume that it is right around here because this is the northern aspect, so that's why I like to go back to, well, let's go back to Apache Peak. So this is Apache Peak. There is a treacherous area right here for Apache Peak. As you can see, it gets pretty steep in that area. And so the workaround was to go around the backside, which a lot of 23 and 24 hikers, what did I just do, went around the backside. And that's this white dotted line here. So that white dotted line was what a lot of people did to avoid that steep area that's right there. Anyway, so that's Apache Peak. And then go to Far Out and look at the comments, and there's a little exclamation point there. I'm sorry if I'm triggering people who are watching this, but I'm hoping you see that there's some safety aspects of what I'm showing these guys. So there's Ansel Rock, and then South Peak there. And basically, that was very little snow coverage in the entire part based on SanJacJon's March 9th trip report. I'm going to back up again and show you where we are with Red Taquitos, and then where's South Peak? There's Castle Rock. Let's head down. There's Ansel Rock, sorry. And then there's South Peak. So oftentimes when I'm trying to be a little bit more precise, when I'm talking to someone who's, trying to avoid a piece of thing, then I'll say those little jogs at 170, 171. So that makes sure that whoever I'm talking to is on the same page that I am at. So here at Red Taquitos, it makes a jog and a loop around to the east, right? And so I'll just, when I switch maps and I'm looking at South Peak, where I'm looking for some kind of jog to the right, and then a kind of a loop. So there you go. So this is the northern aspect right here, right? So anything that's south here could be treacherous if there was patchy snow and stuff. Luckily, this is not the area where this gets a lot of sun coverage, so there's a lot of snow melting right away. Plus, they're having a lot of snow melt. However, for instance, I'm going to turn this back around to north. There's the north side here. So I would be concerned about anything that's north facing. that's on a steep area. So this area right here, if it was snow covered, I'd be a little concerned. I'd try to figure that out and map things out, have a plan B, or have a backtrack plan. And that's the cool thing about Mt San Jac, is that there are a lot of alternates that you can take back into town. So Taquit's Peak, and I think that's Deer, or Devil's Slide, sorry. So that's the Devil's Slide here that you can take back down to Idlewild. And then that's Deer Springs Trail that you can take back down to Idlewild. And then this is Marion Mountain Trail, sorry. It's been a year since I looked at this, and I do get excited. And then here's where Black Mountain Trail comes in. And if you want, the 2023 hikers that wanted to avoid all of the elevation went out at Spittler and came back in at Black Mountain. And that avoided a lot. So let's go look back at Fuller Ridge. There's Spittler, right? And then there's Apache Peak. There's South Peak. And then there's Red Taquits. I'll show you a little bit of, right? And then there's Taquit's Peak, but you're on the red line coming down. So as you cross over here, and then you go this way, you're looking north now. No, I'm sorry. You're looking south now. Sorry, my bad. Right? And then here's Fuller Ridge. So you can definitely see some exposure here. Before you drop down back to the I-10 Oasis. And then I wanted to show you a couple of other things. I think it was 23, well, it was not 23. It was maybe 24. It wasn't 25, maybe 24. But people were cutting, they weren't doing these switchbacks. And they were trying to cut through these switchbacks. And some people were getting lost, and some people were getting injured and falling. And so there was just this huge attempt to tell hikers to not take these switchbacks because people were getting lost and hurt. And I believe it's right around here that people were getting the most hurt. And then here's a beehive. So I don't know if that beehive is still there, but apparently right there at the end of the switchbacks is a beehive that was stinging a lot of hikers. So, and then you'll drop down to Snow Creek, and then you'll drop down to I-10 Oasis, and then you'll have a whole new set of trail angels at the I-10 Oasis going into Big Bear. And I'm jealous of you guys. But anyway, that's what I look at, and those are the apps that I look at. And I'm paying for the premium version of OnX. I don't think you need to have it. I use it for other things on my other adventures, but just the base level of OnX Backcountry is pretty cool. And then you can still map out your trips and stuff. But obviously, just a ton more detail than you looking at Far Out. It just doesn't give me a lot, especially when I'm doing things that might risk my safety or my. So there's the Apache Peak. There's this little reminder I wanted to show you guys. And then, or just remember to have your equipment. Everything is set up there. The Trek for Trevor is working with the outfitter in Idlewild, Nomad Ventures, and they are working together to get you your equipment when you need it, where you need it. And then, of course, you'll want to know how to use your equipment. It's looking like pretty soon you will not need your ice axe mailed to Idlewild. And if that's the case, you probably will not need it at Mount Baden-Powell. And if that's the case, you can send it to your ice axe, send it to KMS or Lone Pine. And then I had this caveat in my head. Oh, in Mount Baden-Powell, all the hikers from previous years have said going up Mount Baden-Powell was not difficult, but it was the coming back down part. And some hikers, they were starting to slide down, coming down from Mount Baden-Powell from a sunrise event, and then they basically got stranded until the sun melted enough snow where it wasn't so slippery. It was a little bit more slushy, and they could work their way down. So just remember, definitely bring your microspikes with you if you're going to go for a sunrise event at Mount Baden-Powell in Wrightwood. And that's over here in this area. Plus, we're still waiting for some recon information from the Wrightwood Trail Angels group about Baden-Powell and the systems there, because they got hit pretty hard in the wintertime. All right, cheers, guys. Sorry that was a little bit longer than I intended it to be, but I wanted to be able to show you the apps that I use to help you guys out, and then hopefully you guys figure it out, and then this becomes a teach a man how to fish kind of thing instead of fishing for them. Anyway, there you go. Cheers. Stay safe, guys, please. This is generally the crux move, the first crux move you have on your wild adventure. So just treat it with respect. Cheers. Okay, see ya.